With autumn descending, leaves fall and the days grow shorter with a quiet surrender to the inevitable cycle of decay. The vibrance of the season, with its rich colours and crisp air, mirrors the bittersweet nature of existence, where beauty and melancholy intertwine, and the vividness of life is heightened by the shadow of its eventual end. In the fall of 1976, the discovery of an unknown woman known as Jane Doe led to decades of hunting for answers. John and Jane Does represent the countless unidentified individuals whose lives ended without a name, leaving behind a mystery that lingers for years, sometimes decades. The quest to identify these unknown victims is relentless, driven by a commitment to restoring their identities and dignity. For law enforcement, forensic experts, and genealogists, each case is a puzzle that demands resolution, fueled by the belief that every person deserves to be known, even in death. This pursuit is not just about solving a case. It's about providing closure for the loved ones left behind, who often endure years of uncertainty and grief. For families, the lack of information about a missing relative can be an agonizing burden, with unanswered questions haunting them long after the disappearance. Identification, when it finally comes, can bring a measure of peace, allowing families to mourn properly, to bury their dead, and to remember them as they were, not as a nameless mystery. It's a bittersweet relief that ends the search and confirms the loss, offering a sense of finality that allows them to begin the healing process. As advancements in forensic science and technology continue to evolve, the hope of identifying more John and Jane Does grows. Each breakthrough, whether through DNA analysis, genealogy, or other methods, brings us closer to giving these individuals their names back, allowing them to be remembered and honoured as more than just a mystery. The 12th of September 1976 was a sunny yet chilly autumn day in Woodlawn, Baltimore County, Maryland. At approximately 10:20 a.m., Baltimore County Police received a call to notify them that a lifeless body had been found along the 5600 block of Dogwood Road in Woodlawn, located less than 20 feet from the gated entrance to Lorraine Park Cemetery and Mausoleum. Former Baltimore County Lieutenant Rick Heaps told the media upon his arrival at the scene, quote, "We found the woman wrapped in a sheet. Her hands were tied behind her back in perfect knots with some type of medical bandage. As the police uncovered the body, they discovered the woman's head wrapped in 3 distinct cloths. The outermost layer was a yellow bag that had once held 25 pounds of lawn seed. The bag bore the printed words, Farm Bureau Association Grass Seed, Lexington, Massachusetts. The bag was produced by the Bemis Bag Company in Buffalo, New York, and was exclusively distributed to 5 locations in Massachusetts: 158 Lexington Street in Waltham, Stafford Street in Rochdale, 307 Western Avenue in Lowell, 3 Hollis Street in South Weymouth, and East Deerfield Front Yards in Greenfield. This particular bag had also been discontinued in 1974. The second layer of cloth was a dark blue and white paisley bandana, followed by an orange and white bandana with holes cut out for the eyes and nose. According to detectives, all 3 cloths were secured at the back of the victim's neck with a square knot. Detectives started interviewing residents along Dogwood Road and people who had attended church that day, hoping someone had noticed something unusual. A woman and her young son came forward, informing the police that they had seen a shiny blue van with panel doors parked on the side of the road as they headed to church that morning at 9:20 a.m. Her son, a car enthusiast, identified it as a Ford Econoline van. Though the woman didn't think much of it at the time, police suspected that the van belonged to the killer. According to witnesses travelling along Dogwood Road before 9:20 a.m, no body or suspicious vehicle had been seen. It was determined by a post-mortem examination that the woman had been strangled, sexually assaulted and murdered approximately 24 hours prior to her body being found. The sexual assault had been so brutal it had caused bleeding, which was reported to have seeped through her clothing. It was also believed that she had been killed in another location before her body was left near the cemetery. The National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children stated that the woman had chlorpromazine in her system. This drug is known to be used in treating schizophrenia, but is also used as a tranquilizer. Detective Phil Marr told AMW, quote, "She was a white female between the ages of 20 and 25, and she took good care of herself. She was 5'8" tall and likely wore a size 12 or 14. She had olive-coloured skin and was very pretty. She was believed to have been of Caucasian or Hispanic descent, between the ages of 15 and 30, weighed 159 pounds and was between 5'6" to 5'8" tall. She had brown eyes, wavy brown shoulder-length hair, had pierced ears and had type O positive blood. Evidence indicated that she had received dental care, including the removal of 3 molars and fillings in the remaining 5 teeth. The extent and quality of this dental treatment led authorities to believe that she likely did not come from a poor background. Additionally, one of her other teeth was crooked. She also had what appeared to be initials tattooed on her right arm, located just beneath the shoulder. Investigators found it difficult to determine the letters, but narrowed the possibilities down to JP, JS, JD, JB, SP, SS, SD, or SB. The woman also had a 1.5-inch scar on her left thigh. The victim was dressed in a white or beige short-sleeve pullover top, beige and yellow Levi's corduroy pants, a white bra, striped knee-high socks in shades of brown, maroon and cream, and light brown leather shoes with soft rubber soles, secured with twine used as laces. She wore a rawhide string necklace adorned with a small, round turquoise blue bead. She also had 2 keys fastened to a safety pin. One key, stamped with the number DB09212, was manufactured in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. One of the keys was for a night latch, while the other seemed to be a house key. Given the items discovered with the woman, it was possible that she was from Massachusetts, had spent time there, or possibly had connections with family or associates from the state. Forensic pollen analysis of the items discovered with the body suggested that she had been in a densely populated area, such as Boston, Massachusetts, or New York City. The presence of cedar and hemlock pollen, potentially from locations such as the New York Botanical Garden or Harvard University, supported this conclusion. Over the years, the investigation effort waned as few clues appeared, yet forensic artists created numerous facial reconstructions in the hope that someone could positively identify the woman, who was known as Woodlawn Jane Doe. 40 years after she was found in 2016, authorities revealed that they had a possible identification for the victim, a girl known as Jasmine or Jazzy, who had emigrated with her family from either Puerto Rico or Colombia to Massachusetts. The family might have resided on Forbes Street in Jamaica Plain, Boston, Massachusetts, which could correspond with the tattooed letters on the victim. Then, after decades of the case lying cold, there was a breakthrough. In the summer of 2021, detectives employed a controversial new investigative method, connecting the DNA of unidentified bodies and potential suspects in serious cases to relatives who have uploaded their DNA to genealogy websites that grant police access to their genetic data. Detectives pursued investigative genetic genealogy, collaborating with Bode Technology, a company based in Lorton, Virginia, that specializes in using DNA to identify crime suspects and unidentified victims. They provided scientists with items containing the Woodlawn Jane Doe's DNA that had been preserved for decades. Former bookkeeper Shannon McAdoo of Erie, Pennsylvania, sent her DNA off to be analysed on the genealogy website 23andMe. Little did Shannon know that she would crack a family mystery which had gone unresolved for years. Woodlawn Jane Doe was then subsequently identified as 16-year-old Margaret Fetterolf, the cousin of Shannon McAdoo, who'd gone missing from Alexandria, Virginia in 1975. After identifying users with DNA related to the victim, a genealogist at the Bode Technology Company utilised public records to trace familial connections. In the case of Margaret Fetterolf, they successfully reconstructed the family tree, identifying her parents and their 3 children. With no public information available about Margaret Fetterolf beyond her high school years, the company and investigators grew increasingly confident that she was the Woodlawn Jane Doe. Detectives then interviewed her relatives and collected further DNA samples which confirmed that the body belonged to her. Margaret Fetterolf was, according to findagrave.com, born in Japan to parents Sergeant John Edwards Fetterolf and Nobiko Yoshida Fetterolf on the 27th of December 1959. She has 2 brothers, Edward and Leo. According to her younger brother, Edward, Margaret was a habitual runaway from the age of 12. Due to her troublesome behaviour, she went to several foster homes, which she also ran away from. Edward stated to the Washington Post, quote, "She would beg to come back home, and my parents would let her come back home, and then she'd run away again. So it was just a revolving door." In late summer 1975, she ran away once more, but this time the situation was different. As the days turned into weeks and then months without her returning, the family clung to the hope that she might appear unexpectedly on a birthday or during the holidays. However, as time passed and those hopes slowly faded away, they began to fear the worst. Meanwhile, the mystery of the Woodlawn Jane Doe unfolded, a case that had been featured on crime shows and public campaigns to identify the body. Despite this, no one in the immediate Fetterolf family still living in Alexandria had heard about the case. Edward Fetterolf had no contact at the time with his cousin Shannon McAdoo, but made sure to call her to tell her of the identification and thank her for providing the breakthrough in solving the mystery of what happened to his sister. Shannon told the Washington Post, quote, "I know people are concerned about the whole DNA genetic informant thing. I get it, but I just think it's important to encourage people to upload their DNA because we don't know how many other people are out there waiting for an answer." Despite Woodlawn Jane Doe's identification as Margaret Fetterolf, mystery still remains in regards to who murdered her and why. Baltimore County Police Corporal Donna L. Carter stated to the Washington Post that the media coverage on the identification of the Woodlawn Jane Doe has led to several calls from individuals who knew Margaret Fetterolf in the 1970s, and they are still seeking anyone with information about her from that time period to come forward and share what they can remember, with Carter stating that, quote, "No detail is too small." As of 2024, the case remains open and active. Margaret's father sadly passed away in 2018. She is survived by her mother, her brother Leo and his wife Kimberly, her brother Edward and his wife Lorraine, as well as her niece Savannah, her nephew Jonathan, her great-nephew Björn, and cousins. If you have any information regarding the murder of Margaret Fetterolf in 1976, you can contact Baltimore County Detectives at 410-887-3943.